backlash across the globe.
Plus, rescue efforts are underway across the South after several communities were battered by severe weather. We'll break down how officials are responding and expected changes for weather alerts across the country.
And later on, we'll take you to a special celebration right here at the University of Miami to honor 100 years of school spirit.
These stories and more on today's episode. UMTV News starts right now. UMTV News.
Hello and welcome to this edition of UMTV News. I'm Jordan Cerullo.
And I'm Caleb Shapiro. Thank you for joining us. China is accusing the U.S. of economic bullying, saying it will fight back right after President Trump threatened an additional 50% tariff on Chinese goods. Beijing says Trump would be making, quote, a mistake on top of a mistake, and is accusing the U.S. of blackmail. On Monday, Trump said he's ready to slap an additional 50% tariff on China. This comes after China imposed retaliatory efforts on imports of U.S. goods last week. Trump said the additional tariffs would take effect midweek if China doesn't remove its 34% retaliatory tariff by Tuesday. Trump had already twice levied 10% tariffs on all Chinese imports. Last week, he announced an additional 34% on all Chinese goods, which is set to take effect Wednesday. If the president's latest threat of an additional 50% hike goes into effect, China would effectively be subject to tariffs of 104%.
Trump has doubled down on his tariff plans, not just on China, but all around. Trump's tariffs have caused extreme volatility on Wall Street. U.S. stocks tumbled for the third straight day, and fears of a recession remain front and center. President Donald Trump issued a new threat to China Monday: comply or else.
If that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on.
He made the comments while hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. Trump threatening to add new 50% tariffs on China if Beijing doesn't remove its own retaliatory tariffs by Tuesday. It is the latest move in what many economists are calling a global trade war.
China, but they can't do this. We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do this, what I'm doing.
Some Republican leaders are urging patience in Trump's economic plan.
I think you got to give the president the latitude, the runway to do what it is he was elected to do.
While on Wall Street, fears of a recession sent U.S. stocks on a roller coaster ride. After another extremely volatile day, stocks closed mixed, with the Dow and S&P sliding after Trump said he is not looking at pausing tariffs.
This is a shock that markets haven't really dealt with before.
Meanwhile, Trump promising his plan will bring what he calls historic prosperity to Americans.
Tariffs will make this country very rich.
Today, U.S. stocks briefly turned positive on rumors of a 90-day pause on tariffs. However, markets plunged back into the red when a White House official called the rumor fake news. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries accused Trump and Republicans of intentionally inflicting pain on the American people and crashing the economy. China's Commerce Ministry said in a statement that, quote, the U.S. threat to escalate tariffs on China is a mistake on top of a mistake. It also said that if the U.S. insists on its own way, then China will fight to the end.
What started as a simple act of love during a South Florida's boys' cancer battle has now inspired families across the country. Ava Kasarian has the story behind the movement. Ava?
After a South Florida boy's leukemia diagnosis, one small gesture from his family sparked something even bigger. Here's the story.
When Miami native Oliver Burkhart was 9 years old, he was diagnosed with leukemia, one of about 4,000 children in the U.S. who face the blood cancer every year. And like all of them, Oliver and his family were shocked and scared.
Having a cancer diagnosis is not something that any family wants to hear. It's terrifying because obviously your child is the most important thing in your life.
What followed were months of grueling chemotherapy treatments, doctor's appointments, hospital stays, side effects, and countless blood draws. The family searched for something, anything, to help them make it through. What they found were patches. Fun, colorful patches sewn onto denim clothing to brighten the darkest days.
The patches made me feel empowered, and I knew I had love and support in my corner. And when I put them on the jacket, it was like a suit of armor to keep away all the bad stuff.
Oliver liked the idea so much that his parents decided to expand it.
We asked people to send a patch. We just put something on Facebook. We weren't influencers, really, like 100 followers, and it was just friends and family. And we had like 2,000 patches sent in a month in the mail.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how the whole thing started.
And from that wave of kindness, the Oliver Patch Project was born. It's an initiative that gifts children battling cancer personalized jackets or tote bags. Each denim garment is stitched with patches that honor their milestones, struggles, and victories.
At first glance, what you see inside this room may just seem like patches and denim jackets. But here at the Oliver Patch Project, something far more important is being stitched together.
We want to be a part of a movement. We want to bring an awareness to pediatric cancer, to really just provide a community of love and support, and most of all, to let these kiddos know that they're not alone and these families know that they're part of a community.
Now in its 4th year, the project has reached over 2,000 children in all 50 states, delivering more than 65,000 patches. Each one a powerful reminder that they're not alone.
To find out more about the Oliver Patch Project, explore children's stories, or find out ways you can contribute, visit oliverpatchproject.org. For UMTV, I'm Ava Kazarian.
Thank you, Ava. As the Ohio River reaches its highest levels in 7 years, nearby areas in Kentucky are also experiencing severe flooding. In Woodford County, residents are being urged to evacuate as the Kentucky River swells to historic heights. The continuous rainfall has caused the Kentucky River to rise, forcing many families to leave their homes for higher ground. Officials are warning that this could be one of the top 3 worst floods in the county's history.
I've been an emergency manager in Woodford County for greater than 20 years, and I don't ever remember this much water. The current forecast will put it as potentially a top 3 flood. But we still think that folks aren't totally aware that there is a disaster unfolding in Woodford County.
Are now open for those who need assistance as recovery efforts begin in the flood-affected areas.
Coming up, we'll tell you about one local organization that's working to break barriers in sports.
Plus, a close call for men's basketball March Madness. Find out who won the game.
This and more after a short break. Stay with us.
It's something about having that piece of paper. Some people think that's worth more than my skills.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
You just gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Analytics and empathy. That's how I've gained clients.
I am more.
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
One Miami nonprofit called Special Compass was started to make races more inclusive for athletes with disabilities. Gracie Palmer got to hear the story behind the organization and joins us now to tell us more. Gracie?
Guys, I was actually just at one of these events the other week, and I got to see firsthand how Special Compass is breaking down barriers for disabled athletes. It was very clear that this is about more than just competing.
Block plan, I do.
When doctors told
son Michael had severe brain damage, they suggested that he institutionalize him. Jim didn't even consider that.
So they recommended that I institutionalize Michael, and I, taking all this in, I said, well, thanks but no thanks. Michael's going to live a life of abundance and fulfillment, and he's going to be included in everything our family does.
Michael was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects muscle control and coordination, making movement more difficult. But Jim was determined to make good on his promise. So when Michael was just 5, Jim suggested that he push Michael in his wheelchair in a race. However, with their wobbly DIY bike setup, things didn't go too well.
He said, Dad, there's a 5K, do you want to do it? And I said, let's see if Michael wants to do it. And I'm thinking, he's not going to want to do this because of the trauma from the last race. Michael immediately said, yes, let's go.
This one 5K turned into hundreds, and soon Jim started inviting others to push disabled kids in races too.
I didn't realize we had something there, and that was the birth of Special Compass.
Jim founded Special Compass in 2015. It's a nonprofit that helps people with disabilities compete in races by pairing them with volunteer athletes and adaptive equipment. The events take place about once a month, but Special Compass does not host their own races. Rather, they participate in local events with able-bodied athletes.
These 3 top neurologists told me to institutionalize him because he would never talk, he would never feed himself, he would never communicate. And here he is doing a lot of these things.
32-year-old Michael has crossed from the Bahamas to Florida in a kayak, been skydiving, competed in the World Championship Ironman, and other adventures most fully abled people only dream about.
I would say, look at me now. Look at all the stuff I
And Special Compass is continuing to help those with various disabilities. In fact, they're actually working on building a 60-unit apartment complex right now, specifically for people living with disabilities. For UMTV, I'm Gracie Palmer.
Thank you, Gracie. Over the weekend, Hurricanes football fans got a taste of what games could look like on campus. Miami's spring game took place this past Saturday at UM's Cobb Stadium, about 5,500 attending the hour-long scrimmage, which capped off the program's spring practice session. Players now take off until late July. However, even they'll acknowledge the pros of an on-campus stadium.
For the fans part, it's less space, but I feel like for the students and stuff, it's easy for people to get out and come see it. With it being on campus, but at Hard Rock, there's more space and we get a lot more people in.
The idea of a football stadium on campus has been explored, but there are no official plans.
The stage was set in San Antonio, Texas, Monday night for the conclusion of March Madness. But in the end, it was the team playing out of state who cut down the nets. The men's national championship was a showdown between 2 #1 seeds as the Florida Gators battled the Houston Cougars. And although Houston had the much shorter flight, the Gators were the ones soaring, coming away with a 65-63 win.
Played it all year in adverse conditions and situations. They found a way to step up, hang on to your guts, and push through and finish. And against one of the best teams in America, we did it again tonight.
Despite their outstanding year, Houston failed to get a game-winning shot off the final moments. And the Gators prevailed once again. This is the Gators' 3rd national championship and first under Coach Golden. I mean, Caleb, what an absolutely crazy game that was, and a great win for Florida.
Yeah, I say there's one Florida school that I hope will win in the next, however long. But for now, that's all we have. And for this edition of UMTV News, thank you for watching.
We will see you again at the same time next week. Have a good night.